Okay, so we'll just do a couple more examples of that style to make sure that you understand it. So if you can take a moment to write down question D. So you'll see there's a constant of positive 2. I think in general what you'll find is if the constant is positive in front, it's going to make it a little easier to get the right signs. You still have to think about it. With the negatives, you have to be extra careful. The coefficients should come pretty naturally to you. So let's take a look at question D. So you've got 2 times negative 7a squared minus 2a plus 3. So that 2 that's in front is going to distribute to all of the terms that are inside the brackets there, meaning it's going to multiply with all of those. For this question, let's try to jump straight to the step where they've been multiplied together without showing the in-between step, and then I'll go back and show it in case you needed it. So your thinking you're going to do if you're going to jump straight to the final step is this. First off, you're going to think about the fact that you're multiplying positive 2 with negative 7a. You're going to think about the sign first, so positive times negative is negative, and then 2 times 7 is 14. The a squared just stays there because that's the new coefficient of a. Then the next thing you're going to multiply, if I can separate those, there we go. The next thing you're going to multiply is 2 times negative 2. So 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. That's your new coefficient for a. And then for the last one, you're thinking about multiplying positive 2 with positive 3. That answer is positive 6. So then you're going to write plus 6 at the end. And that's the thinking you're going to do. Now, if you wanted to show the steps of what you're multiplying, this is what this step would look like. Notice I'm writing in a different color, which means that it would be optional. You wouldn't have to show it. So that's 2 times negative 7a squared. And then we've got positive times negative is negative. And then think about 2 times 2a. And then for the last one, think about positive times positive is positive. And then you've got 2 times 3. Okay, that's the thinking you would go through. And as you're doing your homework, if you want to jump straight to the green line, go ahead and try that, but make sure you're checking after every question to make sure you understand it. And if you're having any trouble, writing the blue line will help you figure out what you're having trouble with. Okay, let's take a look at question E. This time you've got a negative in front, and as I said just a second ago, when there's a negative sign in front, you have to be extra careful when you're distributing it. What I found is students often will make more mistakes with a negative in front than with any other kind of number in front. Whoops, I only wanted to do one of those. We'll delete this one. Okay, so as you're looking at this question, you should be noticing that there's an invisible thing that you need to show, or at the very least think about. That thing should be the 1 in front of the x squared term here. So that invisible coefficient is negative 1. So when you're thinking about multiplying the first one, you're thinking about negative 3 times negative 1. If we jump straight to the final line, negative times negative is positive. I'm not going to write any signs because it's at the front. And 3 times 1 is 3. The other way of thinking about that is that you're doing negative 3 times negative 1, which is positive 3. You can think about the numbers and the signs together. That's okay too. If we take a look at the next one you have negative times positive, so that answer is going to be negative. I'm going to think about that first. And then 3 times 3 gives me 9. That's the new coefficient for xy. So don't forget to write the variables too afterwards. And then the last one we're going to take a look at is negative 3 times negative 7. Negative times negative is positive. 3 times 7 is 21. So there's your final answer. Remember, that's finished because none of those are like terms. X squared is different than xy is different than y squared. Your extra step, if you were going to show that for this one, you're thinking with the positives and negatives, I think it should still be the same. So negative times negative is positive, and then you're thinking about 3 times 1. That's your new coefficient of x squared. Then you're thinking negative times positive is negative, and then you're doing 3 times 3. That's your new xy coefficient. And then at the end, negative times negative is positive, and then you're thinking about 3 times 7. If it helps you to show the signs in there as they existed originally, and then evaluate them to what they become in the end, that's okay. If you want to show 2 signs, like we did on the last slide, let me show you what that was about. That y line that I have written, let's see, how can I circle this for you? I think that's this. There it is. Okay, so that y line that I have written for you there, if it helps you to show that line every time, by all means, go ahead. You want to do whatever you need to do to be able to get the right answer every time. Okay, so that's it for those 2 examples. The last example I have has to do with fractions. Now, the fractions are going to be a little trickier. I think I'm going to end this part of the lesson here and do that in a 3rd part